All right, thank y'all very much for coming today. We'll call to order the September 5th, 2017 meeting of the Limestone County Commission to order. Pamela, public comment?
I think the first up is Jeff Brown.
Hi, Jeff. Yes, sir.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeff Brown, and I live in Capstone Subdivision, which is right off of, actually Capstone Road dead ends into the Capstone Subdivision. I don't know how many homes we have there, maybe 30 or so. I've lived there since 1993. In a very nice neighborhood, and it's very quiet there, and all the families that live there really appreciate that quietness of having a community. When the neighborhood was formed, and I don't know the exact date, back in 92 or 91, 90, something like that, the developer established some bylaws, which I thought were under the city of Athens and not under the Limestone County. I may be wrong in that. Someone would have to correct me on that. The point is, the reason I'm here and the reason I'm speaking is a plot of land was bought by CAT LLC, and the plan is to put storage units in on those three plots. They're telling you, they're calling it a subdivision, which is misleading to me because it leads to believe it is homes.
Is it 3 lots that are inside the subdivision?
I'm sorry?
Is it 3 lots that are inside the subdivision?
They are outside the subdivision, so
Okay.
I want to be clear on that.
Okay.
And the reason I'm here speaking is because a bunch of the neighbors who are here with me believe that would devalue our property, and especially with the halogen lights that I know they're going to put up, or LED lights that will be very, very bright. They've already removed all of the trees, which I'm not really sure they were allowed to do that before any kind of permit was issued. I went online and looked at the Alabama Department of Environmental Management, where they actually applied for a permit. It was issued on August 17th. My neighbors that had adjoining lots were actually given notification, at least 2 of them. I don't know about all of them, or just one. Just one was given notification. So there were other homeowners there and had no idea what was going on. They recognized that was property back there, part of a subdivision. Most of us knew the owner of the home before he departed, and we had heard that the reason he was raising trees on the lot was so he could harvest those for his kids' education. And that's the last I heard of. Next thing I knew, they're tearing down all the trees, and then we get word from one neighbor that they're going to put in 3 sublots on there. And when I asked Mr. Turner about this, he said that he was not aware that it was going to be storage facilities. Well, with a little research, I found it pretty quickly online. So my question to you is, can someone please explain to me what is your approval process on this, and why did we get such late notification in our subdivision to be even able to address this commission?
Well, if it's all in the county proper, our permitting system is there are none. You don't have to have a permit to do anything. The only permit you'd have to have in the county would be with the health department if you're just going to put in a sanitary, a septic tank. But we have no building inspection department, no permit department, no zoning department.
So what is your role? Why did CAT submit to you an application of any kind?
I assume it was for 3 different
Our
addresses.
subdivision regs.
Yeah.
What?
But to meet our subdivision regs, because one of the lots was under 2 acres. And so because of that, our new regs, which took effect in March, they had to come to us.
But as far as what anybody builds on it, like if one of y'all want to go build a garage or anything like that, you don't have to go through any permitting process or anything with the county.
In common terms, what they did is when it says subdivision regulations, it doesn't necessarily mean subdivision where they're going to build houses. It means that the land was split because it was over a 2 acre. So it doesn't mean that they said, oh, we're going to do a subdivision and build 4 houses there. No, it means we're gonna subdivide the property. That's really what it means. It doesn't mean like what you hear subdivision for houses.
So when we bought in the county, then we have no recourse whatsoever for what they put on that lot. Zero.
No, sir.
Well, are you talking about a violation of, you mentioned bylaws earlier, any violation of restrictive covenants?
I want to bring that up too.
But
There's a words in here to reflect that they want access to that lot on Capstone, off Capstone Lane, which is the major thoroughfare through our subdivision.
Does it have a stub road that dead ends into the adjacent property?
There's an easement there as well. So if they want to put a road through an easement, how is that allowed?
It's not an easement. It shows this county right of way through there. It's just a stub road
It's stubbed out to that property?
to that property.
Why does our plot show that's an easement?
I don't know. But in the subdivision, it shows it as county right. County wouldn't require a stub out. I mean, to be somebody else's, it would be county's.
So who approves their right to extend that road?
They have an offer, to extend the road. That is just giving them access to that, I don't remember what the number is, but anyway, that particular track that goes.
That's that big long track that has the
That
tree.
runs behind, yes.
If they wish to extend the road, they'll have to hire an engineer, and it had to be designed per county's regulations and approved by Mr. Moss.
So is there anything, can they legally, since all of it would be on their property, can they not put a road right up to that, and we have to give them access through our street? Because just like
It
on
would-
Mooresville Road, right, they're not going to ask for a permit to put a road that connects to Mooresville Road, right, to get to the storage facility.
If they want it to be accepted as a county road, they would have to. Not a
They'd have-
permit, it just had to be
Right.
submitted. and
Otherwise,
approved,
it's just a
constructed.
driveway, I guess.
Driveway.
Why wouldn't you look at Capstone Lane the same way? It's just a driveway.
If they come off of where this stub out is,
Yeah.
and they don't go through our subdivision regulations, it won't become a county road. It'll just be a driveway to that lot. That's all it'll be.
Yeah, which means they have full access and can bring boats, motor homes, whatever they want back to the storage facility.
I have a question in that regard. If they have an easement or access to their property from our subdivision, can they bring in motor homes or boats or whatever along Capstone Lane to go in there into their storage facility? That would bother me a lot.
Well, they could do that, but we talked to the developer this morning. He actually called. He has no intention of using Capstone Lane for any kind of access to his property, based on the phone call he had with us this morning.
That's,
Well, they've already been using it.
yeah, they've already been used. That's how they got the logs out.
Well,
And it's been disturbing to them. I don't want to interject, but,
No,
I'm here,
we
you know,
need
on a for a personal reason. My name's Kathy Strickland.
Excuse me, if you're going to address us, you need to be on that sheet right there by 10 a.m. and come up here to the microphone. That way, if we
No,
rec-
he was finished. I am on the sheet.
okay, well, wait till he gets finished, and they'll recognize you. That way, we can record it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's it, not the. But
We spoke to the guy that owns this property this morning, because I'd heard the rumors. I've got emails on this. Just ask him, hey, what are your plans? Knowing there wasn't anything we could do about it, because we don't permit that kind of stuff, like it's already been stated. And he didn't give any indication of any kind of storage buildings. He did mention RV storage, but not storage buildings like down the road there. He also indicated that access would be off Mooresville Road, not through Capstone subdivision.
Take a look at that, please.
Sure.
What's that say? It says storage buildings. And it was issued on August 17th.
Who issued
who
that?
issued? I don't know.
Alabama Department of Environmental Management, I think's what they're called.
Okay. Even if he should decide it still remains private property. And we don't plan, we don't zone. So I don't know what, I really don't know what the county could do from a legal authority standpoint.
And I do understand that. I understand that the laws are what they are today. But Limestone County is one of the fastest growing counties in all of Alabama. And I think this commission has the obligation to its citizens who vote you in office. That is correct?
Yes, sir.
To look out for all citizens. And if something needs to be changed in the law, you need to look into that. You need to investigate.
Well, first of all, the Alabama legislature sets law, not the county commissions. All we have to do is follow the law that's in place. So we can't change a law to do that.
You can add to the law.
No, sir.
You cannot add to the law. I guess I need to start talking to my state representative.
Well, I mean, the thing is, there's no zoning in Limestone County. Now, what may have happened is back in the early 90s, there was a legislation where the cities actually extended 5 miles outside their city limits to set zoning. You remember, Bryant, when they did that?
Yeah.
And there was such an uproar of people around the state that it was repealed and put back because people live in the county for a reason. And I know y'all upset, and I'm sorry. I wish there was something we can do, but like you said, everybody has rights. And if this was y'all's property that y'all were wanting to do this for, then y'all might feel different, saying, well, why do these folks tell me what to do with my property? But if the thing about that is the difference between a private drive and like if someone wants to use that stub road, and what that is, that's something that's put down from the safety measures through the state, county, and everything. You can only extend the road so far before it has to be stubbed up, have a cul-de-sac to turn around. They'll only allow so long on subdivisions for straight, and that's so people don't get too fast going through a subdivision running, 55, 60, 65 mile an hour. So the county will require a stub to this property owner here or a cul-de-sac at the end. So, but once you stub to that property, that gives whoever that property owner is access the county road. Now, if he wants to extend it and that be a county road, then he has to hire an engineer, submit it, and it goes through our approval process for a county road. If he wants to put a private drive on it, then he can put a private drive. He or she can, and there's nothing we can do. That's the reason it's there. They have access to a county right-of-way.
Do we know what his intentions are?
That's what I was
I
telling.
don't know who it is.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you. Based on the conversation we had this morning, he told myself, Bryant Moss, and Mark Massey on a phone call that he had no intention of coming through Capstone for anything. That his intention was right there to the north side of that house that was sold around the pine trees, to have about a 300-foot driveway in that 75 point something feet wide section of property. He said once he got that driveway put in, he was going to come back and put in a row of some kind of cypress trees as a buffer. But the gate wouldn't be there until you got...
He took all the trees down.
Well, I mean, that's no different.
Yeah, I know why he did that. I understand.
Not to... And talking about taking the trees down, that's definitely not something that we would in any way try to regulate or control. If you want to cut a tree in your yard, you don't have to ask anybody. You just go out there and cut it. That's just like the same with him buying that property.
We understand that, but what you had just said was his intentions were to put up trees.
I'm just telling you what the man told me, and he's under no obligation to tell us at all.
I do understand that, but he also told you there were going to be no storage units, and that's exactly what
Well,
that form
he
says.
told us boat and RV storage.
Let's
And
keep in mind, too, that, you can call, just like a subdivision, and that created confusion. Putting that on there could have been just a convenience of terminology for them. I don't know that. But he said he had no intentions of putting storage buildings.
we have there's multiple subdivision lots on here today to be approved, not only in District 2. None of those do we know what they're going to be building, if they're going to be building anything. I mean, it's just, we approve, they take what they're wanting to do to these two guys over here, our engineers. They go through it all, and as long as it meets the regulations set forth in our subdivision regulations, which a lot like Commissioner Black said, does not mean there's going to be homes. It's just a subdivision of the property into multiple lots versus one huge tract. They don't, if it meets those regulations, we have no legal reason not to give them approval. I mean, you asked me that,
Yep.
you told me that in the email that you were adamantly against it, and you wished that I would convince the rest of the commission to vote against it. Well, I can't come up here and try to convince guys to do something that's somebody's trying to do that's not breaking the law.
Understood.
I mean, and that's it's kind of like the chairman said, and you mentioned too, everybody does have rights. Sometimes what's right for me may not g-haul with what's right for you, and vice versa, but it doesn't make it wrong. I mean, I don't know what the guy's building. I just know what I heard him say on the phone this morning. That was the first time, and he didn't speak to me at all. He spoke to Bryant Miles.
So he can put halogen lights up and brighten our neighborhood however he wants.
Well, he talked about
I would,
lights this morning.
I would just interject this. I mean, if you're talking about violations of restrictive covenants or things that you think might be a nuisance by a neighboring property owner, those, I mean, as it is, those are things that you would need to get your own legal advisement for to see if there's any direct action, because the commission doesn't enforce restrictive
Right.
covenants, and they don't create them in situations, amongst the subdivision. So if that's an issue, I mean, I don't know. I just mentioned, or again, you mentioned bylaws before, and so if you're
Correct.
getting into
Yes,
some
we do have-
possible violation of restrictive covenants,
And that's,
I don't know if you've got an HOA set up and a process
Yes.
for taking action on that, but that's something you would have to get your own legal advisement for. That's not anything the commission would be able to enforce.
Bryant, Mark, y'all tell me if they could put a horse barn there, they could put a chicken house there, they could put a pig farm there.
we were okay. He had cows before.
Yeah, but I'm
didn't
saying
bother us at all.
they could put anything
Because we
there.
know we're in a county.
They
But my
could,
concern back to what he's talking about, in our homeowners association, we have the bylaws. And the bylaws, and we may have to get a legal rep for this, but if you extend a road that's put in by a subdivision, how are you not automatically, if you're connecting to that road, a part of that association by definition?
Because you're not you weren't part of the plat. And not to digress, but I built over 200 subdivisions before I started this right here. I can't tell you how many times we'd go in, be the first phase of a subdivision built, and it's a stub road, and we start pulling equipment, going to extend the road, and the property owner say, ho, I was told by my realtor that this road would never be extended. Well, they told you wrong, because there's a reason roads are stubbed out to adjacent property, because eventually it gives that other property owner the opportunity to do the same thing that the person
I
that you
could
bought it from.
understand if he had no other access to that property, but he has other access.
Well,
to
that's and that's what we're saying.
I really do.
He didn't give us any impression on the phone that he had intentions of extending that road. He told us he was going to take his access from Mooresville.
I don't trust what he says.
Well-
Sorry.
Using the road the whole time.
I don't
So
know. who
anyways, I thank you for your time. I wanted to give you.
And thank you for coming.
Yep.
And, just so you
and
know,
I-
that is our county attorney sitting right there that was speaking to you last, Mark Macklin. So I didn't know if you knew that.
No.
Is it? And I'm sorry, I cannot place the property. Is it?
If you,
So he took the logs out through the subdivision, but he applied for the permit. When did he take the logs out?
it's been for last month. Yeah, last
But
month.
he got his permit a couple of weeks ago.
He just bought the property. I mean, it was.
Because you wouldn't need a permit to log it. I just wondered
Right.
if he brought it out that way, but he had to get a permit before he built his road to Mooresville. I don't know who the person is. I'm just trying to.
There were a lot of trees, and he probably would have had to have taken out some trees and got stumps removed before he could ever put that road in to not go through our property.
So that might have been the reason he did. I don't know who it is. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt.
He
and
did
hope
buy
just
the
goes
house.
to
He could have pulled it
Mooresville
down
Road.
that driveway. That's a good point, too.
Yeah.
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 So anyways, thank you for your time. I don't have any more, but you guys are more than welcome to address them as well.
Thank you, sir. Pamela?
I have several more. Carolyn Quillen, if you want to say anything different,
You can sit right there.
you can sit there if you like.
I had talked with Keith Griffin about, I think it's 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he said that it was gonna be storage buildings, and,
Keith that's doing it?
Well, that's not who we spoke to on the phone this morning.
Well,
He's the partner, I guess.
Oh.
let me just say this. I have looked online, and yes, Keith is associated with CAT LLC. So that is a definite from what I found online. And also, he owns the storage buildings right next door to the lot he just bought. And they have these bright LED lights that are just going to make our county community look like downtown New York if he puts those lights up like that.
We could even see those lights when the trees were still up. Yeah. But nobody complained or anything.
But he did tell me that that's what he's putting there. And I asked him if there was going to be access from Capstone Lane, and he said, no, I'm gonna put a chain link fence up there. That don't make it look any better. And he said he would probably put the campers back there, and I thought, oh, God, that's worse than the storage buildings. You don't wanna look at your front door, and you work harder in your yard to keep it looking good, and look out there and see all that junk laying out there. And I said, well, are you gonna put up something to hide, a blind or a buffer or something out there so it doesn't make that property look so bad? And he said, you can put anything you want to on your property, like, care less, that's what the impression I got. But that's neither here nor there, I just ticked off at him. If he's wanting to put the cypress trees up, that would help, but it's not gonna take care of the line.
Some of your research.
Yes, and I did some research online, and storage buildings next to residential property does devalue the property.
But I don't,
No, he doesn't care at all.
Hopefully that'd be reflected in our taxes if nothing.
He doesn't have to talk to.
You'll have to
just-
ask, I'll tell you, if you want to be valued, you have to ask. They'll keep raising it. They know that.
Again, this is actually a formal meeting. If you want to address us instead of just talking out loud, it'd be great. So we can keep control. This is not gonna get out of control, but we have other people that may come in here and address us. And if we don't follow the rules with y'all, we can't rain down the. So if you want to come up, or you can stay where you are, but please come up here and address us, because she's steady writing down every word that one of y'all say, and it's almost impossible for her to write it all down when each person's talking.
it is easier when you, thank you, ma'am. Pamela?
Veronica Shawless.
All right, I'm also very upset about this. We bought this property in 2009. We are the second house away from where this chain link fence is going to go up. When you drive down our road now, you just see this big empty nothingness with all the construction equipment and all that in there. I guess it's logging equipment or something. As I said earlier, the lights from the previous storage unit that just went up recently, even when the trees were there, they shine into our development, because they always put the lights up high, and they're very, very bright. So now we're going to have this storage facility, and I went into the field and I asked the men that were working in the field, what are y'all doing over here? And they did assure me it was going to be at least 7 acres of storage facilities. So that didn't make me very happy, but I thought, well, at least it'll be quiet. But then I started thinking about all the lights, that it's going to be right next to us now, and no trees, because they took all the trees out. They could have left a buffer, you know. So I'm thinking, after Carolyn's research, that it's going to devalue our property by at least $10,000. Is that going to be reflected in taxes?
Well, you'd have to go down and ask Brian Patterson, the revenue,
Brian Patterson, okay.
about that. That's not something that we make a rule on up here.
Okay.
Yeah, simply because that's handled through the
Tax assessor.
Department of Revenues.
It sounds like everybody just needs to move into Madison. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, a couple of years ago, I believe it was with Target, the Target Shopping Center. I mean, landowners had the same concerns in Madison as far as established subdivisions and then retail development, lighting, noise, traffic, all of those types of things moving in. So, I mean,
Well, that's-
in that regard, I mean, your concerns aren't uncommon, but you know, the things you're talking about as far as, again, use or nuisance between landowners, and it's not a matter of trying to put you off or anything, it's just to remind you that, and one thing I would clarify that was said is, this mention about you can do whatever you want to with your property. Well, maybe, I mean, but what I think they've tried to communicate today is that if the subdivision is going to be used for storage facilities, there may be only so much, or maybe nothing that the county commission would be able to do or enforce there. But again, if it's some issue of being a nuisance or violation of restrictive covenants, you know, that's just something you would have to talk to your own attorney about as far as any action that you might be able to take for any violation of that or to try to stop that.
Mm-hmm. Well, this property, as far as we know, was just purchased, and so it was purchased with the idea of putting these storage facilities in there. So you would think out of consideration for the adjoining subdivision that they would try to do something somewhat attractive, you know, so it wouldn't affect your property values so much. I think it's really ridiculous that there's no kind of law that could protect us from that. I mean, what are our taxes really going for?
Funds, the ones that you pay on your property taxes is funding the sheriff's department, the jail, the tax assessor, tax collector, EMA, Parks and Recs, Council on Aging.
Well, I recently had reason to know that there's no noise ordinance out there.
No, ma'am.
Right, so
The-
people can make as much noise or racket as they want.
Well, if it gets too out of hand, you're welcome to call sheriff's department or chief, and they'll send somebody out to talk.
And we did have a theft one time,
Never called, we've not
and nothing was
sent somebody
done.
out there, I guarantee you that.
Say what?
I said, you've never called, we've not sent someone out there. Now, it may be that,
About noise?
it may be up to y'all to go swear out a warrant, because beauty's in the eye of the beholder. What you think's too loud, somebody else might not think too loud. Again, it
Well,
goes
we
back
were
to
cut off
everything
at
that's
phone. They didn't send anybody out. They told us there's nothing they can do, there's no noise ordinance.
If you ask for that, when was that? I'll go back and check the law, man.
July, the end of July?
Give me a date, and who did you talk with? Because we send someone out anytime we make a request.
He doesn't know what the officer name
Now,
was.
if they explain to you the fact that there's no noise ordinance, you say, well, okay, then, but if you didn't want the car to continue to come on out, they might not have, but if you call and ask for a deputy, one's gonna get there.
That's good to know.
Well,
So next
Yes.
time we just need to call and ask for a deputy to come out.
If you want one, and if you don't get one, you call me, because I'll answer every call that comes up there, and I'll make, return every call that comes up.
okay.
Because I was just told that there was no noise ordinance, and I
There
said,
is.
so you're telling me no matter how loud they get, no matter what they do, there's nothing I can do about it? And they said, yes, so, you know, I assume that's.
Again, it's kind of like what the county attorney's telling you, you know, to say there's nothing you can do, there are other options, we'll be glad to discuss them with you, because I think y'all here on different matters.
Yes.
But I'd be glad,
Yes.
be glad to come out and talk to your homeowners association and tell you how you can handle some of those things. But as far as there being a specific law saying you can only have X number of decibels of noise, there's not.
I guess it comes down to, and I know y'all frustrated, and I really do. I really do. But it, you know, cities have zoning, and they have ordinances, and counties don't. And Limestone County does not have, we don't have a building inspection department, and for every instance like this, when y'all want one, the rest of the county don't, because, you know, it's kind of one of them things, the old adage, people want to, nobody wants you to tell them what you to do with your property, but a lot of times folks want us to tell somebody else what to do with their property. And if the shoes was reversed, y'all would be the exact opposite. It's my property, I paid for it, it was for sale, if somebody didn't want me put there, they ought to bought it. But I bought it, and this is what I want to do. I'm within the law, I'm within, you know, my rights as a property owner to do it, so I'm sure that's their position. On the opposite side, I understand y'all's position, because you're like I said, we don't really want to care what you do with the property, but we don't want it to impact our property values and our quality of life. So I understand exactly where y'all coming from, but the stark reality is we're only limited to so much we can do as a commission. We are. We had the opportunity to go metro government back when, Sheriff, the 90s sometime?
Mid-eighties.
Got beat, what, 85 to 15 or 90 to 15? Because people live in the county for a reason. They don't want the county commission telling them everything they can do.
That was the reason I moved to Limestone County. I was from Madison. We loved the development we purchased into, and it was quiet, it was peaceful. We had cows in that field that we're complaining about right now. It was great. And I guess I didn't do the footwork I should have done about all these other things that.
And to be honest
Not
with
governed.
you, some of the things that y'all are here about today, if we could pass something by district, it'd be that way tomorrow in East Limestone, without a doubt. I know it would get the support it needed. The problem is we have to do stuff countywide.
You would think with as many residential areas that's along that area that there would be something you could do.
Well,
it's
but
kind
that's
of.
what I'm saying. It has to go countywide. So while the issues you're facing are certainly not what they're facing up around Vito or over in Leicester, where they don't even see their neighbor's house because they live so far apart. It just happens that we all in District 2 live really close to our neighbors,
Yeah.
sometimes 25, 30 feet away. So
We're going to go ahead if that's
Well, I'm
okay.
done.
Pamela?
Joseph Quillen,
I think they said everything that I think that's
Stephen Taves,
I think I'll forego my remarks. I was happy to hear one of the things Mr. Turner said, that in discussion with the people that bought this property, they talked about putting up a buffer of trees between the subdivision and their property. That would alleviate a lot of concern. It won't take care of all the concern, such as the bright halogen lights and things of that nature. But at least it would be some physical separation.
this morning in the phone call, at the same time he was talking about the possibility of putting in the cypress trees as a buffer, he also addressed to us that he was going to put some kind of dimmer on those lights so that they're not so bright. Now, we're going on the good faith that this guy's telling us the truth over this phone call, and that's all I can go on, because
Sir, I'll ask you if you don't mind, if you want to speak, to come to the mic, because that's the only way, because we have, no, sir, that's fine, but we have several hundred people that watch this online, too, as we're live streaming.
Or 5.
Or 5. It's either 5 or several hundred. Really, no? Middle of the road. Sometimes.
Thanks for watching, Mother.
but anyway,
As a consideration by the new owner, if they had the halogen lights pointed toward the south, that would be a big help.
oh, and he stressed to us, I know, I'm thinking he said it 3 times, that he desires to be a good neighbor. So, I mean, it's just like me telling you, if I live next to you, hey, I'm not going to disturb you. I'm going to do my best. But we'll wait and see. I mean, hopefully he will be the good neighbor he's telling us he is. But if he's not, then you may have to go through some channel like our attorney was telling you. It may be something that you have to handle in a civil matter.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Pamela?
Kathy Strickland,
I did not plan to speak when I came here. I
But
just
you
planned
just
to
couldn't resist it,
comfort-
could you?
No, that's not true. And,
No,
I
ma'am,
feel
I'm
like that
sorry,
was
I was-
condescending, I feel like that was inappropriate for you
Okay,
to say
I'm
that
sorry.
to me. Anyway, I did not plan to come and speak. I just planned to come and listen because I didn't know what was going on at all. So then when they had the list going around about speaking, I thought, well, I may have something to say, but I'd rather say it on the end, when we've heard about what all's going on. Anywho, my concern is more about, like you've said before, this being a nuisance. And I'm also seriously concerned about safety. I have lived in the neighborhood for 25 years, and there's only one entrance. You know, that's one of the beauties of being in the neighborhood. Good neighbors, and I love living in the county. And one of those reasons is, like you said, you can do what you want with your property. I can have a bonfire when there's, you know, when it's okay to do so.
Fireworks.
Things like that. Yeah, you can do some of those things, even in a subdivision. And safety has not been an issue. We've had, I think, one attempted break-in. And when that happened, they called the sheriff's department, and I think it was Officer Bowles went down. He got the guy, you know, and he was arrested, and it was just awesome. And we have good neighbors. But that being said, I have a son that's 18 years old, and he has autism, okay? And so in the summer, he rides his bicycle all through the neighborhood, right? And this started with the logging right after school started. So he's a senior at East, so he was not home. But if this had been going on while he was home, it would have been extremely stressful for our family, and I wonder if it would have been a safety issue too, because these huge, I don't know if you really have a picture of what all went on. I think there was probably hundreds of trees that came out logging. They had logging trucks, and 20 huge truckloads. And my home is not right against that lot, but it's like a corner lot, and they would stop right in front of my home and be there for long periods of time during the day. I just work part-time, mostly due to my son, so, you know, it didn't block my driveway, but it was right in front of my home. If he had been there, he would have been all up in that, you know. And so the only way they came out was directly through our small, quiet little neighborhood.
Are they through logging?
Are they through logging?
Are they? Does anybody know?
They're not. There's hundreds and hundreds of stumps, so I'm sure the stump grinding will be there. And so my biggest concern is, you know, now I realize what's going on. It sounds like it is going to be storage for campers and things like that. If these campers come through our neighborhood, you know, I don't care. I care about property value, but I care about my son's safety. And I can just see a camper stopping in front of our home, my son riding his bike, throwing his bike down, hopping in, and them taking off. Honestly, you know, we laugh. That
know
happens.
You're telling the truth.
Yeah, and I mean, he is 18. He's 5'11". He looks so normal, so people wouldn't know to be concerned about that. But if he gets stressed out or something changes, he might throw his bike down. I've had neighbors that, oh, Grant's bike is in our yard.
Right.
You know, you might want to come get it. And it's you know, our life is very stressful enough without you know, things like this. And another thing that I've liked about living in the county is having good neighbors. And I think that if you're a good neighbor, even if you're a business, you could be considerate, you know. And I don't think that's, I understand, you know, if you had to do that, I don't think he had to go through the neighborhood. But that being said, if it continues, you know, it's going to be a serious safety issue for my family, and definitely a nuisance. I'm not one to complain. I have never, you know, and I have never had any of these neighbors complain about us, and sometimes my son will, you know, freak out, so to speak.
And if they continue
we don't
to
complain
come,
a lot.
if they do continue to keep using Capstone, give us a call, and I'll be glad to go and talk to them and urge them to hurry up and make their connection to Mooresville,
Right.
so that they can use that.
Right. And you might let them know that I have a son that's autistic, and it's I'm sincere about, you know,
And I believe
I'm
you.
concerned about his safety, and he would be, if he had been home when these logging trucks had stopped, he would probably be so fascinated.
He'd wanna watch and see.
or want to climb up, not watch, climb up there, and you know, and get harmed. And you know, if he gets harmed, you know, that's just not cool. That's not okay.
Well-
Nothing's more important, you know, than our kids, even though he's 18. But, you know, we have to look out for special people in this world, you know, and we need to be good neighbors, whether we're businesses or homeowners, you know. And, you know, the lighting, that's another issue. His sleep, you know, it's a stressor, too. We're at a good place with him. He's graduating. And, if we have bright lights shining our way, it's going to be a setback for us.
Right.
And it's not okay. And,
Well,
I
again,
guess that's all I have to say.
again, like I told you, the guy told us this morning he had no intention of
Yeah.
operating
We're
his
basing
business.
but we're basing it on what we've seen, and the only way they've taken
Right,
all
and-
these out is through our neighborhood,
and-
and they cut down all the buffer.
This is the
you
first
know.
mention that they used the log trucks coming in and out of that subdivision. Nobody called to say, hey, we got log trucks using, nobody.
Yeah, because we don't complain. Our
Right.
neighbor- We're good neighbors. We
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
complain about it.
know,
We're not one of
had-
these with restrictions where we go around, hey, you need to
Right.
put your trash cans in your
Yeah,
somewhere
but
else.
what I'm saying is, had somebody
that.
called when the
Brought it to your
logging,
attention, yeah.
when the logging truck started, we could have went then and said, hey, can you, if you intend to make a connection to Mooresville, go ahead and let's do that.
Yeah, right.
Because we are getting some concerns from people in here about the use of the
Yeah.
subdivision
Right,
road.
right.
But nobody called us.
Okay.
So that, you know how that is. If you don't tell me there's a problem, then I don't know there's a problem.
Okay, but there's a
hard to-
problem, and you know it now.
I know
And if
it
there's
now.
campers coming through, I'm very concerned about, not just the nuisance part, which has already been an issue.
You keep bringing up that the campers are coming through. Again, they told us they were going to connect to Mooresville. They're
Right,
not
but-
coming through your subdivision.
Right, but respectfully, I'm basing that on the fact that all these logging trucks went through.
Right,
Thank you,
And my
ma'am.
son was in school, not home. for the
right,
summer.
right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, he was,
Weekend.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll talk to them and see if we can urge them to hurry up, but we can't make them.
But a buffer would definitely
I have no further
help in the
comments.
light.
Let's keep going. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank y'all. Pamela, could you call roll, please?
Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Turner,
Here,
Commissioner Black.
Here.
The record will reflect that Commissioner Harrison is absent.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Black, would you lead us in our pledge?
I will.
Thank you, sir. All righty. First item, I'll ask for a motion to approve minutes from August 18th and 30th, 2017. Do I hear such motion?
So move.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Hill and a second by Mr. Black. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Black,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Our next item, I'll ask for a motion to approve claims in the amount of $1,818,038.06. Do I hear such motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Turner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Black. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Black,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Our next item on the resolutions and orders, I'll ask for a motion to approve authorizing resolution and governmental lease purchase agreement to purchase one new Case tractor and one new Land Pride Ranger Series 2 rotary cutter and obtain financing from Hancock Bank in the amount of $68,640.10 at an interest rate of 2.37% for 5 annual payments for District 3. Do I hear such motion?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the contracts, agreements, and grants. I'll ask for a motion to approve outside agency service contract agreement for kidney dialysis van driver in the amount of $30,890 annually. Do I hear such motion?
So moved.
A
Second.
Motion by Mr. Turner. I hear a second by Mr. Black. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Black,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Our next item. I'll ask for a motion to approve the Alabama Department of Youth Services long-term detention subsidy contract to provide one detention bed for the use of the juvenile court at the Tennessee Valley Juvenile Detention Facility, beginning October 1, 2017 through September 30th, 2018, without any cost to the county. Do I hear such motion?
So move.
A motion by Mr. Hill. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? There's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. There are no budget revisions to come before the commission, no emergency purchase, no board appointments, and no bids to be awarded. Under personnel actions, I'll ask for a motion to employ David Whitt as Deputy Schools Resource Officer. Do I hear such motion?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Hill and a second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? There's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, I'll ask for a motion to employ Corey Cook as Network Support Specialist in the IT Department. Do I hear such motion?
I'll make the motion.
Have a motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Have the second in unison by the District 1, District 2 Commissioners, Pamela, whichever one you want to write down. Any discussion? There's no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Our next item is merit increases. You have the list before you. I'll ask for a motion to approve such merit increases that's been submitted to the commission.
I'll make the motion.
Have a motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hill. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Moss, the engineer's report.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, we have 5 subdivisions. I'm going to ask for your approval on. Would you like to take them all at once or individually?
However y'all want, gentlemen, y'all have a preference?
All at once would be fine with me.
That'll be
All
fine
right.
with me.
The first one then is Bridges subdivision. All these are minors, by the way, and they'll all be preliminary and final. Bridges subdivision consisting of 3 lots in District 3 at 9998 Highway 72. Torrey Senior subdivision consisting of 2 lots in District 4 at 17595 Tucker Lane. Ennis Estate subdivision, this is a replat of lots 13 and 12A, excuse me, consisting of 2 lots in District 2 on the east side of McCulley Mill Road. Cat subdivision, consisting of 3 lots, also in District 2, approximately 1/2 mile north of Highway 72 and the Morrisville Road intersection. And DMB Estate, which is a replat of Lot 23, consisting of 1 lot in District 1 at the intersection just off Sandlin Road at the end of Albee Lane.
Thank you, sir. Do I hear a motion to approve the following subdivisions as been described by the county engineer?
I'll make the motion.
A motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, second thing I have for you is that I'm asking your approval for to allow the Jehovah's Witness Church to widen and resurface a portion of Curtis Lane at no cost to the county.
I'll ask for a motion to allow Jehovah's Witness Church to widen and resurface a portion of Curtis Lane. Do I hear such motion?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Black. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion?
This will remove a entrance that they have and exit coming into Highway 72. It will put it onto a county road where it's better vision for safety and really in both directions. They will pave to their property line, which would be to the south from Highway 72, about 100 and something feet at no cost to us, which is really, really a good deal for the county. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. No more discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black.
Aye.
Commissioner Turner.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind,
Oh, I'm
before we
sorry.
move on, there was another item. This is in District 4. This is an application actually for a Highway Safety Improvement Program project in District 4. Mr. Harrison was going to bring it up in his part of the comments, but unfortunately he's in Houston with his daughter and son-in-law trying to help them clean up. Anyway, I guess the first thing is a suspension of the rules, if y'all are willing to do that.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
I have a motion to suspend the rules. Do I hear a second?
Second.
second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, and now,
Okay, this is, like I say, it's a highway safety improvement program project. This is only an application. It will be all District 4 money if it's approved. At the, it's the curve at, I don't know how much y'all know about District 4, but anyway, it's the curve at the bottom of McElroy Hill. They've had several accidents down there over the years, including a fatality, and this is an opportunity to get money out of this program to make improvements in that curve.
And this is at Ben's request.
This is at Ben's request.
I'll ask for a motion to apply for this grant as described by the engineer.
I make a motion.
A motion by Mr. Turner,
Second.
second by Mr. Hill. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
I'm done. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Other business, I'll ask for a motion to give Administrator Pam Ball the authority to approve departmental budget revisions as necessary for end-of-the-year procedures. This is something we do every year just to clean up anything that's outstanding.
I make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Turner. I have a second by Mr. Black. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Scheduled public hearing. The public hearing is to be held on September 5th to receive comments relative to the proposed action to vacate a portion of the right-of-way on Lakewood Street in District 4. Ask for a motion for that?
Just ask, is there anyone
Yeah,
here that
that's what I was
wants to
thinking.
make public comment regarding this right-of-way?
Adam, you good with it? Bobby? Well, you always want to start trouble, so I figured that's the reason you was here. All righty, so,
Ask to approve them.
ma'am, so I asked for a motion, okay. Well, that's the first time we've had one of these, I'm sorry. So I'll ask for a motion to approve the resolution to vacate the portion of the right-of-way of Lakewood Street in District 4. I hear such a motion.
I make the motion.
A motion by Mr. Black, second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? There's no discussion. I'll call for a vote.
Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Turner?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. That's cleaned that up, right, Pamela?
That's correct. That's
All
all.
righty. So now we can move to report of our officers. Commissioner Hill?
Yes, I hope everybody had a good Labor Day weekend. We're continuing cutting limbs and bushwhacking. We hope to start doing some chip sealing within a couple of weeks. And just for information, we had a horse barn burning in District 1 on Thatch Road, and the guy lost 23 horses. And we're so sorry for that.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Turner?
Yeah, we'll be trying to get back bush hogging the whole district. Had a couple of guys off today, so we hope to start that in the morning. And I'm getting a lot of calls lately about people parking in the streets, causing problems for the school buses to not being able to navigate cul-de-sacs. So if you are one of those street parkers, could you please be kind enough to try to get out of the way of the school bus, because it's making, they had to have one escorted out, I think, by the sheriff's department because he had to back all the way out of a subdivision.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Black?
We're continuing to do maintenance on sides of the roads and the roads. Also, in speaking with Mark Massey and Bryant, I think our chip sealing we've been waiting on for about a month now. I think it should be getting started here within the next week or so. They're starting to do the stockpiling. I think they're going to start in Stanley's district. Is that right? And then work their way across. So just be patient. It's going to be done. Looking forward to it being completed. And also like to say about Ben's family, prayers go out to them because his daughter's house, I think, was destroyed, lost vehicles, and the mental anguish is a lot more than the material anguish. So thoughts go out to them.
Well said. Thank everybody for coming, and thank y'all very much for coming. And I know you didn't get the answers or the stuff that you'd hoped for, but I hope you do realize that we're limited in what we can do. I also want to tell you how much I really appreciate y'all taking the time to come. I really do, because one thing Mr. Turner said, it's impossible to know every issue going on when you got a county of 95,000 people, 1,200 miles roads, and unless you do know. But I've got all the confidence that Brian and Steve will follow up on this to make sure hopefully we reach some kind of solution that's good for everybody. But I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, and I appreciate the professionalism and the way y'all handled yourself and all that when you come to the meeting. It's very much appreciated by us. With that, we will, ma'am?
I have a question. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm very ignorant about all this stuff. During one of the motions, there was a motion to suspend the rules. Could you explain that to me?
Well, we have a work session. We'll have a work session next Wednesday, and we'll go through every bit of these issues we went through. That's the reason a lot of people just come to the meeting and they say, well, man, I just blew through it. That's because we spent 2 hours sorting through it all last Wednesday, and that gives the press, Adam, newspaper, whatever, to get a chance to disperse that information out to the community. And then if they have anybody, has a problem, they can come to the meeting before it's actually voted on. Sometimes issues come up, like this is a grant that possibly it's a 90-10 grant. Taz Morrell, I think, could help put it together, can tell you more about it. But it's kind of a time is of the essence. So in those type of situations, the commission is allowed under law to suspend the rules of order to be able to vote to do that. Now, we rarely do that unless it's something that time is of the essence, and this we would have to wait until next Wednesday to be able to do this, to go ahead and get the grant application in. So that's all that was. Thank you, ma'am. And with that, everybody have a fantastic week. We will recess to 10 a.m. Wednesday, September 13th, 2007, at Washington Street Courthouse Annex, 310 West Washington Street, Athens, Alabama. Thank you all.